Hi, and welcome to this Digital Analytics Association webinar, Innovation in Digital Analytics, Frameworks and Inspiring Examples to Invigorate Your Data Analytics Practice. Thank you for joining us. My name is Deanna Morrison. I'll be your moderator for the presentation today. Before we begin, I have a few housekeeping items to go over. In the Go-To webinar bar on the right-hand side of your screen, you will see a questions area. You are welcome to submit questions at any time during the presentation, and they will be addressed at the end of the presentation. The slides are in the handout section, so please feel free to download those at any time during the presentation. They will also be shared in an email that will be sent out after the webinar, and that will also include a link to this recording. At the conclusion of today's webinar, we ask that you complete a brief survey. It's actually posted in the chat box, and it will help DAA to plan future online events. Today, we're joined by our speakers, Dr. Kumar Mehta and David McBride. Dr. Kumar Mehta is an expert in innovation science and the best-selling author of The Innovation Biome. He is the founder of Bridges Insight, a think tank focused on innovation. Dr. Mehta worked at Microsoft for 14 years and was the CEO of Course 5 Intelligence, a large global data analytics company, for a decade. He is now focused on educating organizations around the world on building an environment where innovation thrives. He serves as a senior research fellow at the Center for Digital Future at the University of Southern California and is active as a board member for the Committee for Children, a global nonprofit dedicated to fostering the safety and well-being of children, and holds a PhD in pharmaceutical socioeconomics from the University of Iowa and lives in Seattle. David McBride is a 13-year veteran of the analytics industry, having held leadership roles in media, retail, and technology. David is passionate about helping companies achieve growth through data-informed customer relationships. He has led analytics teams at Comcast and American Eagle Outfitters and has created customer analytics products at IBM and Intel. He is a frequent speaker and event organizer and is a board member of the Digital Analytics Association and holds an MBA from the Anderson School at UCLA. At this time, I'll turn the presentation over to David and Dr. Mehta.
Thank you, Deanna. Welcome, everyone. We are excited to share some inspiring examples with you today. We don't use the word inspiring lightly. We do hope that you come away from this presentation with an invigorated sense, with some inspirational examples for how you can elevate your digital analytics practice. As we begin, I'd like to provide a brief overview or introduction to Course 5 Intelligence. At Course 5, we drive digital transformation for businesses through analytics, insights, and artificial intelligence, and we help our clients leverage data to build capabilities and intelligence to make the most effective strategic and tactical decisions for their customers in their markets and relative to their competition. I'm excited to be joined by Dr. Kumar Mehta today. As Deanna introduced, would like to turn the time over to Dr. Mehta. So Kumar, over to you.
Thanks, David, and thanks, Deanna, and thank you everyone for logging in and listening to the webinar. I've been studying innovation for the past few years, and it's just been a fascinating journey. And as I've laid out in my book, The Innovation Biome, so I'd love to share maybe just a few principles with you and something that you can all apply as you think about innovation. So let's get started. David. So let's start with a simple question. If you had a great idea at work, what steps would you take to make it real? I mean, if you or other employees in your organization had a great idea, would they even know what to do? Would the company even listen? If you want to be an organization that consistently innovates and brings new value to your customers, you need a system in place to gather and advance ideas from everybody. And I mean everybody, not just a select few people, because you never know who has the best ideas, so you can never select people and assign them to innovation. Let's talk about how Amazon has done it. Amazon, very likely the most innovative and influential company today, has built a culture that lets every employee advance their ideas. In fact, everybody is expected to innovate. It's one of the core principles of the company. The success of the company is unquestioned. Last year, Amazon crossed $200 billion in revenues, the fastest company to ever do so. and its growth just seems unstoppable. The main reason for this growth is the number of new things they've introduced, things that all of us value and use. Innovation is at the very core of Amazon. In fact, the company has taken pains to make it everybody's job, not just the job of company leaders. They have over 600,000 employees, and everyone is encouraged to share ideas that can be developed into products. As a result, every year, thousands of new ideas and proposals are developed and shared and considered across the company. And many of them become products we use every day. For example, the Echo, the voice-activated personal assistant, was proposed by somebody in the company in 2011 and went to market in 2014. Now, if you have a great idea at Amazon, not only are you highly encouraged to share it, but the company has created a path where every idea has a chance to become real. And employees know what they need to do. Broadly, you need to do three things if you want to make your idea real. First, you write a one-page press release stating how you would announce your product if and when it's available. Even before the first line of code is real, or the first line of code is written, you write a press release. Second, you also write a 5 or 6 page FAQ document on the common questions that people would have around your product. And finally, you portray the customer experience and include additional material or prototypes or whatever else you think is necessary. If you do these three things, your idea will be looked at by somebody with resources, with budget, somebody with the ability to take it forward. Now, Amazon operates under a set of principles for innovation that everyone knows and can follow. The first is customer obsession, and this is something that we've all heard from them. This is required in every idea. How does the customer benefit? Another one is working backwards. Your thoughts are clear when you write a press release and an FAQ document. As a result, you're no longer focusing on vague ideas, but on very specific customer benefits. And there's clarity because ideas are shared in a detailed written document, and attendees are required to have read them before meeting to discuss them. No PowerPoint, only full text, so any ambiguity is removed. The goal is to encourage the institutional yes. In most companies, ideas have to go up a chain of command, and any no along the way can kill an idea. This just creates a risk-averse and conservative culture that hurts innovation. Amazon wants you to say yes to more things, and they've created an environment where you can say yes to more things, starting with having multiple paths towards getting to a yes. And because of this sheer volume of new ideas, innovation becomes a numbers game. The more things you try, the more likely something will be successful. Quantity leads to quality. Now, I bring up this example for Amazon because they have an approach. It works for them. Their approach to innovation may not work for you. Other innovative companies have had their own approach. Apple is famous for its innovation through design approach, and Toyota at its peak had its own approach around continuous improvement. Google has succeeded in innovation by letting people develop their pet projects and ideas. But unfortunately, most companies or teams or even individuals don't have an approach or a philosophy to breed a culture of innovation. And without an approach, innovation simply becomes a shot in the dark. So ask yourself the simple question, if you had a great idea, do you know what steps you would take? So let's move on to the next slide. Here's another question, a simpler one. Does your company encourage everybody to innovate? In the most innovative companies, innovation happens everywhere and by everyone. We all have the ability to innovate, but very often we squander it or are afraid to do it or believe it's someone else's job. Innovation has to be everybody's job. It does not belong to the R&D group or the product development group or senior executives. It comes from everywhere. It comes from people who deal with customers or with customer data every day, people who know how things can be improved. It comes from people who build and sell products, or just folks who simply think of an unusual way of doing something. And if you're not extracting the best ideas from the entire organization, you're doing yourself a big disservice. There's so many activities involved in getting a great new product to customers that everyone has an opportunity to do something innovative in the process. If you're not working on a product, you can be innovative in sales and partnerships and analytics and marketing and distribution and packaging or anything else. Let's look, I have a picture of the package of an iPhone. So the packaging of the iPhone, the box it comes in, is an innovation that's patented. The box is not treated simply as packaging that'll be discarded, as most are. It's treated as the first interaction a customer has with the product. It's an important part of the experience that sets the tone for how the customer perceives the product. That's why this is the only box we don't throw away. We keep this. Now, when was the last time you thought of the packaging group of a company as an innovation driver? This only happens within a culture where innovation is part of what everyone does. The one thing I absolutely believe, based on all of my research around innovation, is that innovation is the multiplier effect of many small things, never the result of one large bet. Let's move on to the next point. Let's talk about experiential innovation, and we'll spend a few minutes talking about how you can create world-changing innovation. The first thing to understand is that innovation is being increasingly democratized. By that I mean it's more easily accessible to everyone than ever before, which is why it's easier than ever before for you to disrupt the status quo, or conversely, become disrupted and made irrelevant by a new development. This is because the costs of and the barriers to innovation have come down considerably. Every component required for an innovation, whether it be materials, people, skills, software, talent, know-how, anything else is usually available at a reasonable cost somewhere in the world. That's why we have the disruption we see today. Startups are able to take on established companies with deep pockets because innovation is more accessible to everyone. Anyone with a great idea can take advantage of this opportunity to create new value quickly and inexpensively. Value no longer comes from the components you have access to, or the modes or the barriers to entry that you create. It comes from the experiences you create, something I call experiential innovation. Experiential innovation is less about pure product R&D and more about enhancing experiences using things that are already out there. It's through the creative connection of available things. And I'm not talking about small innovation. You can have massive breakthroughs and change the world simply by connecting things in the right way and through experiential innovation. Let's move on, David. Take the iPhone, for example. Just about everything that's made the iPhone special, the multi-touch screen, the GPS technology, the full web browser, the technology behind Siri, the internet and HTML technology, the compression, all of this stuff was available for everybody to use. In fact, all of this was developed by government-funded research. It wasn't even behind the tall, secretive walls of corporate R&D labs. The true genius behind this product was putting together these components that were available to everybody into a beautiful package that all of us lined up to buy. Experiential innovation is not about brand new inventions or pushing the boundaries of science through R&D initiatives. It's about using existing knowledge and available components to create experiences that change the world. It's about understanding a customer's experience journey and then coming up with a way to do it better. It's not about inventing the airplane. It's about inventing commercial aviation. It's not about making a better phone or a better camera. It's about the new experiences that are created when the two are in a single device. The goal for experiential innovation is to take a current experience journey, the steps taken to do something, anything, and develop a radical improvement to it. Think of this as a 10-fold improvement, not a 10% improvement. When you think of changing something by 10 or 20%, you're trying to do the same thing, only you're trying to do it better. When you think of a 10-fold improvement, the only way to get there is by rethinking how something is done from down to the very core. Henry Ford's innovation, the assembly line, resulted in his factory to go from producing 100 cars a day to 1,000 cars a day. That's the type of 10x improvement we should be looking for and can bring about by experiential innovation. The simple concept behind the assembly line was that instead of the worker going to the work came to the worker. Let's move on. So how can you come up with these innovations? How can you rethink what you do? And there's a number of ways you can do this, but I'm just going to talk about one idea or one thing you can actually apply to create these big world-changing innovations. And the one way you can do that is by applying first principles. Now, going to first principles means breaking an argument or an assumption into its most basic components and essential elements. This was a form of reasoning that was used by Aristotle over 2,500 years ago. It forms the basis for how you can get your innovation efforts started. So let me give you an example. Elon Musk is one of the famous people that uses first principles for innovation. One example he talks about is batteries, probably the most important feature that has led to the success of Tesla and his other space-related endeavors. Now, conventional wisdom always dictated that batteries are simply too expensive and that the high cost of batteries would be prohibitive for their use in a scalable manner. Using the reasoning we use every day, we probably try to bring these costs down by negotiating harder with the battery manufacturer or bringing production in-house or doing something similar. But in a first principles approach, rather than simply accepting that batteries are expensive and this cannot change, you would break down a battery into its most essential and fundamental components, its first principles. You would ask yourself, what really is the battery? Well, the battery is simply made up of things like nickel, aluminum, carbon, a few other things that are put together into the shape of a battery. These components are very inexpensive and cost only a few dollars. So the cost in the battery is not in the components, but in putting together these things into the shape of a battery. If the materials that make up a battery were all bought separately and all your efforts go towards coming up with a new and clever way to combine them into the shape of a battery, its total cost can be orders of magnitude cheaper, giving rise to endless new possible uses. And now you're not just powering cars, you're lighting up entire cities. First principles reasoning can drive innovation in ways that conventional thinking will never allow. You're able to rise to a higher level of abstraction by going deeper and down to the most basic level. It provides a level of clarity that's not otherwise possible, and it allows you to question every assumption you take for granted. And that's what you need to do. Every company has things that are done in a certain way, and you just do them because they've always been done in a certain way. But if you question every assumption and ask yourself why something is done in a certain way and go down to the first principles, you may learn that things, just because they've been done a certain way, that doesn't mean it's right. Another example is Amazon Go. This is a new concept in retail introduced by Amazon. There are about 18 Amazon Go stores out there. If you don't know what these stores are, they're a new concept where you simply walk into a store, and as you walk in, you have your scanner read your phone, and you start shopping. You take whatever you want from the shelves as you normally do. And when you're done, you just leave. You don't count what you bought. You don't pay. When you're done, you simply go. Amazon has spent years developing this concept, but it was all driven by wanting to enhance the customer experience. They realized that the least desirable part of the shopping experience is the checkout process. It doesn't add value to the retailer or the buyer, but it was necessary. So the focus on Go was on removing this step of the process. It was going down to the first principles and questioning every assumption, questioning the simple sacred assumption of the shopping process, which is walking out without paying. Now, these stores are run with an enormous amount of technology and AI and sensors and cameras, but it's all done with the intent of improving the shopping experience and done by questioning every single assumption and going down to its first principles. Let's move on. Now, you can tell if your company is ready for innovation if the majority of the workforce exhibits the following 5 qualities. If you believe innovation is core to the mission of the company, if you believe employees are empowered to innovate, if there is a mindset of continual improvement in every area, if there's a system in place to support innovation, and if there's a desire to build meaningful products that provide value to society, not releasing products simply to make money. Very few companies exhibit all 5 traits, and even the most innovative companies in the world exhibit them only for certain periods of time. As an example, think about how you perceived Apple's ability to innovate 10 years ago versus how you perceive it today. even though the company is stronger and more powerful now than ever before. Organizations need to do everything in their power to ensure these 5 elements of innovation are present. And if you are positive in all 5 areas, that's rare, and that's really amazing. If you're positive across 3 or 4 of these attributes, then you're in good shape and have a better than average chance of consistently building new value through innovation. If you believe your organization exhibits only 1 or 2 of these traits, or worse, none, you have a lot of work to do before you show growth through innovation. Go ahead, David.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Mehta. This is a very inspiring framework to consider. And as we were thinking about how we might leverage your research and expertise in this field, my colleagues and I came to the realization that many of these, in fact, each of these attributes has a direct correlation to the digital analytics space, which is an area that Course 5 is involved with, and of course, members and of the digital analytics community are approaching their contributions to their companies from that perspective. We believe that analytics is core to innovation, that analysts and marketers should give themselves permission to innovate, that every day is an opportunity to test and to learn. At Course 5, we have direct experience with the benefits that come from creating an innovation system with analytics at the center, in our case, AI-based analytics. And we believe that analytics innovation can create value for society. So I'd like to talk a little bit more about each of these innovation attributes from a data and an analytics perspective. So first off, analytics is core to innovation. As analysts, we play a lead role. Let's see here. Yeah, we play potentially a lead role in guiding our companies through their innovation journeys. And a good way to start with that is by answering the question, so what? And we're pretty good at that as analysts, but we're not as good with the what next questions, and that can actually lead to innovation. The opportunity perhaps starts with, and this is part of the first principles concept that Dr. Mehta introduced, of questioning assumptions. Here we can start by stating the obvious and then move on to a discussion about why that matters. And then in stage 3, we look for ways to extend into something that might be dramatically new. So an example, content personalization in media. Here stating the obvious might be recognizing or stating that younger demographics, younger audiences are consuming media in highly personalized channels like YouTube and TikTok. The next step might be to say, well, why does that matter? And the answer could include something like, today's youth will influence more and more ad dollars and content decisions over time. So how do we extend that into something new? If you're a broadcaster, you might come to the realization that you need to create a more personalized channel, and that could lead to a completely different product. As analysts, we can be part of those teams to ensure that those new media products are measurable and that they can be improved over time. That's an opportunity for us. So we can use, as analysts, the data at our disposal to understand and to state the obvious, to talk about why it matters, and then either propose or be proposing ideas or be part of new innovations at our companies. The next principle on believing that we're empowered to innovate. As analysts, we need to resist any urge that we might feel to sit behind our desks and our spreadsheets, and we need to give ourselves permission to innovate. So what does that mean? We need to move beyond the constraints that we might feel are lining us too much to the daily operation of the business and look beyond that. We have the data. We have at our disposal the raw materials of defining where the opportunities lie with understanding customers and defining customer experiences. We have an opportunity to look beyond just running the business into bringing breakthrough value, perhaps 10x improvements to the business. Analysts have an opportunity to take lead roles in encouraging their companies to get involved in creating the culture of innovation. We can participate in hackathons or 20% time projects. These projects are well known and they exist, but they're really not that highly adopted or widely adopted. So what can we do next? We can look at moments throughout the year, like Black Friday and Cyber Monday, not as risks to be mitigated, but as opportunities to be exploited. So how can we do this? We can get connected with people in our companies who are looking beyond the day-to-day running of the business. These people tend to want data, and they're likely to welcome us to the party. An example that comes to mind for me here is Amex, and in 2010 they started the first Small Business Saturday, working with some other industry associations as a counter to Black Friday and Cyber Monday, or a supplement perhaps. This has become an annual event that is an effective tool in Amex's strategic efforts to support small brick and mortar retailers, and that's an important customer segment for American Express. So here's an area where they looked beyond the day-to-day running, aligned with their strategies to bring an innovative new offering to the table, which 9 years later continues to be, or in 2019 continues to be well thought of. There is a mindset of continual improvement in every area, and we should look at every day as an opportunity to test. And every day's stimuli and results can be compared to those of other days. And as an example of a company doing that is Purple. And at the inaugural DAA 1 conference in Chicago in October, Joe Megabo, the CEO of Purple, shared how his company is testing on a regular basis, in this case, the use of videos to promote their products. Purple takes a very scientific approach to everything that they do. It's core to the product, and it's also become core to their marketing. They recently identified Saturday night as a key time to reach their customers. So they created video content that would, not Saturday night, Sunday night. They created content that would resonate with their customers on Sunday nights when prospective customers couldn't sleep because they were worried about the coming work week. They're staying up late, looking at their phones. How could Purple reach these customers with engaging, memorable content that would drive awareness and ultimately conversion? And so in creating these videos, the innovation that they brought to the table was to dramatically expand the number of assets that they would test to see which ones resonated. And they ultimately ended up with more than 70 variations of videos that they tested and refined over time. And this innovative data-driven approach helped them optimize their marketing to their key customer segments. It was an inspiring and interesting example that Joe shared that I think we can all learn from. Next up is the system. Is there a system in place to support innovation at your company? There's an opportunity for you to leverage your role as an analyst, as a data-oriented expert, to create and influence those innovation systems. We have at Course 5 a close-to-home example of creating an innovation system, our AI lab. We set up our AI lab in 2016 in order to consolidate our innovation efforts, to bring focus to R&D-led innovation, to make some strategic bets that would yield strategic discoveries. And from that 2016 launch, we've expanded each year, recently opening a second lab in Toronto focused on harnessing the power that AI can bring to digital analytics. And what have been the results? Well, in those 3 years, we've been able to apply the output of this R&D effort to fuel some groundbreaking innovation in our suite of products. Use cases range from competitive intelligence to ad optimization, to market research optimization, to discovery, our virtual analyst on demand. The reason we have these AI-based products today is because we've invested in a core AI lab as a source of innovation 3 years ago. So what does that mean for you? Maybe you have the influence and the ability to create an AI lab or the equivalent for your industry or company. But even if you don't, you can partner within your company to advocate for the creation of systems, processes, practices that you can rely on to support your innovation agenda. Finally, I'd like to talk for a moment or two about the value to society. And value to society can be interpreted in a lot of ways. Certainly, analytics innovation has the potential to create value for society. One example that comes to mind for me is REI's opt-outside effort. And I like this example because it's easy to see how an analyst could be involved in this. And it's centered on giving back, on doing good in the world, and who doesn't want to be part of that. When REI created this opt-outside concept where they close their stores on Black Friday and they give employees the chance to be with their family, they also used it as an opportunity to encourage customers to spend time outside in nature, developing a deeper appreciation for and a commitment to taking care of our natural world. Is there a similar opportunity at your company? How can your data, the data that you have access to, help establish the case for a strategic investment in social good? As analysts, we can be involved in the creation of these initiatives by using data to make the case, by partnering with those perhaps in other parts of our company to augment and amplify our voices. And then post-launch, we can use the data to test and optimize the program for maximum good, showing that the initiative may also have a positive impact on long-term measures like CLTV and brand value. I think I should point out that these social value, societal value opportunities are not necessarily limited to corporate social responsibility initiatives. They extend to creating value for your company. What is the essence of the good that your product exists to create? And you should look to your data to help establish that message more clearly and differentiate your offerings. As a summary, just to go through these again, as analysts, we have a great opportunity to use data to fuel innovation for our companies and even for society as a whole. Analytics can be core to innovation. It should be. We should give ourselves permission to be involved in these innovative discussions. We should look at our data, at the stimuli, the results, as opportunities to test and refine what we do. And that can be that's very much in line with the continual improvement concept that Dr. Mehta shared with us. We should work to create innovation systems with analytics playing a main role, maybe at the center perhaps, maybe not, but certainly a major contributor. And analytics innovation can create value for society, both in corporate social responsibility settings or in product settings as it relates to our products that are creating value for our customers. So this is a significant opportunity, we believe, for analytics to have a seat at the innovation table. With that, would like to thank you for your time today and turn it over to you, our audience, for questions, which I believe Deanna is going to help us moderate.
Great, thank you for that interesting presentation, guys. That had a lot of really good information in it. So it is question time. You have a questions tab and feel free to ask any questions. We've got a couple. I'll start off with the first one. It says, innovation at my company lives with our chief strategy officer and her team. How can I apply these innovation principles without waiting for that group to respond to my requests for assistance?
Dr. Mehta, any thoughts on that?
Sure. Yeah. So innovation has to become everybody's job. No one should be asking for permission to be creative and to come up with new ideas. Ideally, you'll have a system in place like the Amazon example we discussed. But if not, just keep at it. It does not have to be a big strategy altering innovation. Just focus on things that improve customer experiences. Remember, innovation is the multiplier effect of a number of small things. And if you keep doing that, the big innovations will happen.
I think back on a time when I worked at Comcast, where one of my team members came to me with a really interesting idea that was very much aligned to some big questions we were asking about the influence that digital content consumption would have on churn in our traditional business. And this wasn't anything that anyone asked him to do. He felt like this was a significant opportunity, and he took it as a charge, as an opportunity. He very much had internalized this concept of this innovative thinking being everyone's job, and that turned out subsequently to pay some handsome dividends for us in better understanding the influence that digital channels had on customer retention.
Great, thank you. Another question is, how can I best use these innovation principles to make technology choices, whether build versus buy or which tool to buy?
So I always talk about the experience delta. The experience delta is the currency of innovation, and it's basically the difference or the change between how something is done today versus how something is done after an innovation. The larger the experience delta, the larger the innovation. So if you want to compare a build versus buy decision, or whether I should use tool A or B, or essentially compare any two ways of doing things, simply look at how the customer experience changes with each of them, and then go with the one that has the larger change or the larger experience delta. This way you make the decision objective and the best interests of your customers, whether they're internal or external customers.
Interesting.
David, did you have anything to share on that one?
That's great. I wouldn't, there's nothing I would add to that.
All right, our next question. Are there tactical exercises or work-life hacks that apply to bring some quick innovation wins to my analytics practice?
Yeah, so I think most people are inherently creative and innovative and want to do things better. So I'd say don't hold back. Just go ahead and experiment. It's okay if things don't work out well. The greatest innovators in the world have had far greater number of failures than successes. But you have to get into the habit of trying out new things. People often think they have a great idea and then that idea becomes something sacred. But innovation is not about the value in creating new ideas. It's about the ideas creating new value. So whenever you think of a different way to do something, just go ahead and try. Also, innovation is incredibly networked. All innovation is created from existing things and that are both within and outside your domain. So keep your eyes open and see how other developments can apply to what you're doing. But the main point here is to just think like an innovator, challenge the status quo, and don't be afraid to change things and be a disruptor.
I think those are great ideas. Another concept here that came to mind for me, the word work-life hack, I think I heard in the question, something that I've tried and found to be successful in my own career has been that on occasion, I'll book time for myself, maybe a Friday afternoon or maybe even a Saturday, where I know I can be quiet in a quiet place alone or with one or two other people. It's usually helpful to have a large whiteboard in the room because you can sort of quickly organize your thoughts, erase, put something new on the board. And from that, you can start to, I guess, at least this is what's worked for me, is kind of unleash some new ideas. And sometimes that's been prompted through something as simple as reading through my company's most recent annual report or listening to my CEO's recent call with analysts. And when I hear those kind of top level questions that the leadership team is asking, that often fuels an opportunity or sparks an idea of a way that we can use data to answer some of those big questions, which often I find needs to be, or those inspiring ideas come only when I'm separate, either in terms of space or in terms of my schedule from the demands of my everyday obligations.
Great, thank you. Another question that's come in. Innovation theater is common in many organizations. Could you please discuss some of the things that organizations should stop doing in the innovation space?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think organizations should stop making innovations one-off initiatives, like innovation contests or hackathons or sprints or anything that's one-off. Innovation happens when it's woven into the fabric of the company, not when it becomes an initiative, not when there's someone who's hired to do innovation. It can't be somebody's job that you assign. It has to become everybody's job. So many times companies try doing these one-off techniques, thinking they're helping with innovation, but in reality, it's actually doing the opposite. If you build an innovation lab, if a big company builds an innovation lab staffed with 10 people or 20 people or whatever, people think that innovation is the job of that lab, but that's far from the case. Innovation is, you're going to have a far greater impact on innovation if everybody is innovative, not if 5 or 10 or 20 people in a separate lab are thinking of new ideas.
Great. David, did you have anything to add to that?
I really like that. That's great feedback.
Another question is, can smaller companies have innovation labs as well?
Yeah, I mean, everybody can, but I think and I think they're a good way to maybe just, get into the spirit of experimentation. But again, as I responded to the previous question, I think whether you're a big company or a small company, your better bet is to kind of raise the innovation IQ of the entire company, not just of a standalone lab or department or whatever it may be called.
And I think that's maybe an area where we as digital analysts can play a significant role, given that we have access to data and we understand the limits of that data, which means we tend to have an assessment of or a knowledge of the inherent quality of any data set better than someone else who might have access but might not understand the limits of data quality. So we have the potential to use that in a sandbox kind of format, maybe with a limited data set. Maybe it's limited by geography or product type or a certain page or experience, that we, without formally setting up a separate lab, adhering to this principle of innovation being everyone's job, we can start from a place of understanding the data and then move into finding partners throughout the organization, where we can, I guess, bring those insights to a larger audience within the organization.
Right, thank you. Another question. I understand innovation should be spread across levels within an organization, but how do we overcome the bureaucracy to ensure that the idea transfer to the correct executives who are open to looking at ways to change the customer experience?
Yeah, that's an excellent question, and that is always the hard part, especially in large bureaucratic organizations that have different departments vying to do something in different levels and turf wars and all that stuff. But I think that innovation, really has to start with the leadership of the company, and the leadership has to kind of make this a priority and instill this culture and some processes in place to make innovation real. I have a list of 10 questions that you can use to determine whether you are headed in that direction or not. I've published that on Forbes, and it's available. I can send it to anyone if you email it to me, or if you send me an email. But I think that this kind of question gets away from dealing with organizational structure. So to keep the answer brief, your best bet for your company is to have the leadership of the organization kind of instill that value of innovation and remove these barriers, just like the examples we talked about, the Amazon example or the Apple examples, and all those companies, they've created this environment where everyone can innovate, but that environment was created because of the tone set by the leadership of the companies.
And maybe if a leader, if the executive suite of a company is not yet bought on to something that an analyst or the questioner might feel is important, thought comes to mind that results speak pretty loudly. And so if you're using data to answer big questions, especially if they're unlocking revenue gains or cost cuts or dramatic measurable customer experience improvements, that pretty quickly leaders will be attracted to those insights, to that innovation. And that's one way to create converts out of leaders who might not otherwise be aligned to either innovation in general or to the type of innovation that you feel is important.
Great. Well, that is all the questions that we have today. So on behalf of DAA, I would like to thank you for your participation in today's event. Thank you again, Dr. Mehta and David, for sharing your knowledge with us. The evaluation link is posted in the chat, and it will also be sent to you via email, along with a copy of the slides and a link to this recording. So please take a few minutes to complete that survey. This concludes today's program. Thank you very much for attending. Have a great day.
Thank you.